Hello, this is Nathan, better known as CrazyhermitDM, and this is my podcast, The Hermit's Homebrew. Joining me today, live from Nukecon, is Brent from Lang Mooney Studios, and special guest Oakley from Oakley'snerdnook.
Before D&D, I was into Commander for Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, same.
Yep, and I wanted to do something for that, and for a long time I wanted to make deck boxes, and I just really didn't kind of find a design I wanted to roll with, because again, I didn't want just a box that closed up and then you carry your cards around with. Again,
I was going to say, the
functionality.
nicest thing back when I played before COVID was the Ultra Pro ones that were multicolored.
For a while, I was looking online. I was like, what accessories are people making for Commander? I was looking at different things. I was like, hit point counters. Okay, that's a thing. Commander stations, like little trays
with
that you
the
can
dice
put.
notches.
Yep, with the Yep, and most of the ones I found were all 3D printed, and so I was like, okay, like that's a thing. That would be cool. It'd be fun to make that. And then I was seeing like little deck holders where they would fold up, and you could fold them down, and then you put your library on one side, and on the other side you put your graveyard.
Yeah.
It's like,
The
okay.
ones that I've seen the ones with like the gears in the side that they like ratchet together.
Yeah.
Not ratchet, but the T's slide together and then slide out again.
Yep. I saw a lot of those, and I was like, okay, these are all really cool. Okay, but individually, like, they're fine. But what can I do? Like, how can I make all these things into one thing? So I made a commander station.
Okay.
I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm gonna make this. So I designed like my own layout of it. I was like, okay, how can I incorporate this into a deck box? I can make this the lid of the box. So I put magnets on that, and then it's like, okay, so how does my box work? Okay, well, if this is going to be the lid for the box, then the box needs to be big enough for 2 decks. I got my deck box. Well, how do I get the cards out of here if I have 4 sides? You know, it's all made out of wood. Like, how do I get the cards out? Rather than dumping them out of the box, like, how can I do that?
Okay.
So then, like, the end caps, like, they're like a dovetailed join, so you can just slide them up and out. So that way you have easier access to your cards just from the open side of the box. So the top comes off, you can take the sides out so you can access them easier. And it's like, well, now that the sides are out, you can use the box as a library graveyard divider because it's separated into 2 halves, right? So, and now the commander station's the lid. Okay, so we have all these different functioning things. So I was going with that for a while, and then one of my good friends that got me into playing Commander, he bought one of my first boxes, deck boxes. He's like, hey, I think it'd be good if you put little like holes in the side, like where you pull the card or pull the sides up and out, so that way you could like just lift them up easier rather than like grabbing them from the inside and the outside. Exactly. So I was like, okay, cool. So I did that, and I was like, you can set these down, put countdown dice or different dice in those slots that I routed out for the finger holes. And then you can put your like token cards underneath and keep track of how many tokens of that card you have or what their power and toughness are. It's like, so every single part of that box, when you're not playing and when you are playing, has a function.
Does something.
Yes, exactly.
Fantastic.
So it took a little while to get that figured out before I finally made one. And a friend of mine now, his name is Braden, he bought a bunch of my stuff before I made that, and he kept asking. He's like, hey, have you made any deck boxes yet, or have you thought about making these? I was like, I've been thinking about it, but I just haven't really done it. He's like, okay, well,
If you do, let me know.
yeah, when you do, let me know. And I was like, okay, yeah. He didn't pester me or anything, but he was asking. He's like, any deck boxes?
Yeah, every month or so.
Yeah,
Hey, man.
well, he works at the Ren fairs that I go to also.
So every time you saw you.
So yeah, he's like, hey, you got any deck boxes? Not yet. And so finally, October 2022, came to the Ren fair. I had one prototype deck box made. He showed up. I'm like, guess what I got?
Yeah, guess what?
He's like, do you have a deck box? I'm like, I got a deck box. And so I showed him. He's like, that's so cool. And at that show, I was doing pre-orders, essentially. It's like, I have this box.
You need to gauge the audience for your
Right, exactly. It's like, I made this box. I'm taking orders on it. So if you want it, like, this is I was selling them for $65.
Okay.
Which was incredibly undervalued, and that included shipping too. So I was like way underselling myself. But I was like, yeah, so I have these things. I don't have any of them made yet, but if you want one, I'm gonna, make them for you. It'll take about a month or 2. And I had 11 people pre-order them. I was like, awesome. So they were very interested. I've sold more deck boxes than I have dice crates, and I've been selling them half as long.
You can afford to be competitive in Magic the Gathering.
Right.
You can afford
I was going to say, it's
carry those cards.
Magic the Gathering is a lot more of a money sinkhole than D&D.
Yeah, for sure. Like a lot of people are spending a ton of money, and that twofold of the reasoning of like the increase of price. One of them is obvious. It took a lot more time than $65 worth to make those, because there's a lot more adjusting, tweaking than just magnetizing 4 or 5 pieces together. Like this was gluing, making sure the pieces fit in the right way.
There's a lot of precise measurements and fine tuning to make these things slide together.
Exactly. And so that very first one at the end of that Ren Fair, I was like, hey Braden, this one's for you if you want it.
Aww.
And so he bought it, and it didn't have a serial number on it, but I signed it.
There you go.
So he has the prototype, the very first ever Commander deck box. So yeah.
Fantastic.
So that would lead me into my next question that I've been thinking about is you can reveal what it is or not or whatever, just maybe the name or whatever. Is there any other products you're prototyping or what's next?
So I actually just had 2. I recently started making. Their Gluehouse boards is one of them. It's a Renaissance era gambling game.
I ain't even heard of that.
Yeah, it's super fun party game, really, is what it turns out to be. But you roll 2d6. Whatever number you roll, you put a coin on that number. Let me back up. So it's a board. It's got the numbers 2 through 12 on it.
Okay.
The special rules is there's a special rule for the number 2, 4, 7, and 12. Okay. I also include all the rules on this board. Okay. So the way it works is you roll 2d6. Whatever number you roll, you put a coin on that number, or a dice, or whatever it is you're using for currency. Quarters, pennies, dimes, whatever. So you put a coin on that number. If there's already a coin on that number, you get to take that coin.
Oh, okay.
So the only exception is the wedding, which is the number 7. You only feed into the wedding. You don't take out of it. So if there's already coins in it, you don't take out of it.
You just keep stacking them up.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's the wedding spot. So you're like paying the dowry, right? Or it's a growing jackpot. When you roll a 4, you get to make up a rule, whatever it is. Like you can just turn it into strategy for you to get more coins, or you could just make it a fun thing, like turn it into a drinking game or like whatever you want. Okay. My new rule is whenever you roll a 5, you got to take a drink. Or something like that. And then when you roll the 2, it's the lucky pig, so you get to take all the pieces on the board except for the wedding.
Okay.
All right. But when you roll the 12, which is the king, you get to take all the pieces on the board, including the wedding.
Oh, wow.
So the objective is to collect, like any gambling game, collect all the coins or all the dice. And the way you get knocked out of the game is when you put your last piece on the board, you get to go one more turn. And then if you roll your dice, and if you're not able to take a piece off the board, then you're out of the game.
You're out.
I learned that at the Elkhorn Renaissance Fair about a month and a half ago. I learned about it. I went home the next night. I designed this board for it. So I didn't design this game. This is like hundreds of years old.
Fair,
yeah, exactly. But I designed a board for it. And so I went home, I designed it. I was like super excited about it because it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And then I had a Ren Fair that weekend, and then they weren't ready for that one, but the weekend after, I took 7 with me, and I demoed it, like people could come and play it at the Ren Fair, and I sold all 7 of them on Saturday.
Nice.
Like, the first day I had them, so it was awesome. And then I was able to get like 12 more made, and I think I sold like 10 of those 12 for the next weekend, so like they like popped off, and I was really excited about it. Because you can do different themes, like you can do a Star Wars themed Gluehouse board, or a Harry Potter themed
almost any setting or whatever could have that sort of game.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly. So that was a lot of fun. And then like any good crafting business, you should have a price range, a really low, like something low as, $10, $20 or whatever, up to like a $200 item, stuff like that. A little something for everybody. Okay. You want to optimize your sales. So one of the things I currently have, I actually did it for a little bit about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and stopped doing it because I didn't quite have time to dedicate to making more of them.
Okay.
But they're little currency counters. So when I make my DM screens, the screen is acrylic, right? It's like a clear acrylic. And so the acrylic I get, it's a 12-inch by 12-inch sheet. So I can get 4 tower screens out of that, and I have like 1.5 inches on the outside. So I have like wasted material, right?
Yeah.
I have saved all those screen waste pieces forever so I could do something with them, and that's what these are. It's got laser engraved into the acrylic all the different currencies for D&D, copper, silver, electrum, gold, platinum.
Who uses electrum? Really?
The best people. That's who.
The Romans and the Greeks.
There you go.
Where are they at?
Yeah.
Roman
it's like,
Greece.
what do they know? They're not here anymore. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks to the hordes.
That we still haven't found.
And
I know,
they
right?
and by his advice, they grew too fast and stretched themselves too far.
You know?
The phrase Rome wasn't built in a day would probably disagree.
Yeah, exactly.
So the front of it is acrylic, so you can write on it with dry erase marker or Sharpie, so you can keep track of your coin counter or coin currency or whatnot. Like I have 90 gold pieces and 30 silver pieces or whatever. And then on the back, it's actually plywood that I laser engraved in it to be the same shape. And on the back, I have laser engraved all the exchange rates for silver to gold, gold to copper, and what those different values are, as well as trade bar values are for 5th edition or whatever, as well as starting wealth by character class. I have that on the back, so it's just like
I was going to say, your cheat sheets I've seen online are awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
For at least 5.0. The 5.5, I guess, is out now, but you haven't had a chance to make those yet.
Yeah. And that's a whole
Wizards hopes you do.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So originally, when I first made those, I was like, how do I connect this piece of wood and acrylic together? And I was like, okay, I can use super glues. I did that, but when that happened, the super glue would go into the laser etching part and then kind of fade away the whiteness or the contrast that was there. And it didn't look very good from the front. So that was one reason I stopped doing. Again, back to the road bumps and whatnot, adaptation. So I tweaked it a little bit, extended it, made it a little bit longer, and added holes on the top and the bottom. And I took Chicago screws to hold them together. So that way there's no glue or liquid in between the two pieces.
Gotcha.
It's just hold together with screws. So it looks like a really nice piece of, leather working is what you would use some Chicago screws for.
Okay, cool,
and whatnot.
gotcha. All right.
So that's a new item too that I brought with me for the first time this weekend. This point, as far as I can think of, I don't currently have any specific things. I do want to make a Pathfinder GM screen. Because I have a 5th edition GM screen that has quick reference materials on it and page numbers from the player's handbook and some other things to reference. But I become a big fan of Pathfinder, and now that they're doing the remastered stuff to get away from the OGL issues and whatnot, I've ordered my GM core and player core books. GM, Monster,
2E
player,
stuff.
2E remastered
We're
stuff.
We're doing the same with Tales of the Valiant with Kobold Press.
Nice.
We're probably going to go that route.
The Game Master book just either is coming out or just came out. I need to snag it.
And
So
then
I'm
probably
excited
lean
about
into
that.
Call of Cthulhu a little bit more.
Yeah, and this weekend while I had some downtime, I went and got to play some Pathfinder 2nd edition remastered at some of the tables and the different lodges that were here in Pathfinder Society.
I heard it's somehow crunchy, but less crunchy than their initial.
Yeah, so they did kind of get rid of some of the weeds or whatnot, but I know a lot of people refer to it as crunchy D&D. There are more rules. There is, but
it's still not 3rd edition where it's
right. Yeah.
Okay, because Pathfinder is based on 3rd edition, I believe.
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5.
Yeah.
Streamlined it.
Yeah. But streamlined a little bit.
Right.
Paizo's good at that though.
Paizo's great. Well, so my perspective on it is there's more rules because they have more options. They have more things that you can do in game than 5th edition. Not that 5th edition is intentionally trying to limit you.
No.
They just don't have they're just not
They're
coming out with
simplifying it for a beginner point of view.
Exactly. And also in addition to that, all the newer stuff that they come out with, Spelljammer and, other things and whatnot, there's really not that much new content in each of those.
No.
I think, if I remember correctly, Spelljammer,
some
new
races.
Spells, and it was 2 spells.
And then
or something like that.
And 2 new races, I think. The Hadozi and the Slime, the Plasmoid.
Yeah. I don't remember the name of it.
I don't remember the
names, I just think Pathfinder has a lot more options.
Oh, for sure.
Do so many different things with it. And I think that's where
Paizo treats their people a lot better, at least reputation-wise.
I haven't heard the drama, Wizards of the Coast level drama from Paizo.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I agree. Everything I've heard of from Paizo or of Paizo has always been good, whether it's talking about the company itself or talking about the people that work for them. Because it is like a ground-up company. They started first edition based off of 3.5, and then they've kind of adjusted it along the way.
We were just talking about a couple episodes ago on our podcast. It's just ironic that every time Wizards flubs,
Paizo grows.
Seems to capitalize on it.
Yeah, Paizo grew off the third 3.5 when they made 4th edition.
Okay.
Well, now with them flubbing up with 5th edition, transitioning and being a PR
and the OGL
nightmare,
debacle.
they've made Tales of the Valiant,
right.
which is another Kobold Press, which Kobold Press was doing a lot of freelance work for them.
Yeah,
they still do, but
they still do, but that's why they were afraid of getting hit with the cease and desist,
right?
Having stuff taken from them, and they're like, you know what? Let's just pull the trigger. Let's make our own stuff, and we will release things for our own stuff that just so happens to mesh with 5th edition and now 5.5.
Well, and now came out with 2nd edition.
Yes.
And that was just trying to grow it, but then after the OGL stuff kind of happened, or about that same time anyways, then they're like, we need to get away from this completely.
Yeah.
So that's when they came out with their remastered stuff. So there's no magic missile in Pathfinder. There's no fireball in Pathfinder anymore.
There's magic machine gun in
yeah. Something like that.
Whatever they decide
magic
to call
projectile.
Magic projectiles, right?
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
So
nice.
I'd like to see that out of a game. Something that's a blatant ripoff, but they can't go after for any reason.
Well, it's kind of like in with Tales of the Valiant and D&D 5th edition. They have all of the exact same classes, all called the same thing.
Just renamed.
Except for, not even that. They have Bard, Fighter, Druid, Warlock. They have all that.
Same class names.
Except for
Artificer.
Except for Artificer. Somehow, Artificer is not covered under the OGL. It is now, it's like it came out after it or something. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
And so they went, oh, okay, fine. Well, we're still going to have Artificer, but it's called Machinist.
Interesting.
And it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Only it's just they couldn't use that word
for
some reason.
Yeah, and they also have the Alchemist, versus whatever, or they have the Pathfinder has the Champion versus the Paladin.
Yeah.
Kind of idea or whatnot.
And I can respect that there's a lot of words out there that mean
the same thing.
Can mean the same. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
exactly.
Okay, you have a fighter. Okay, well, the original Final Fantasy came out. That was the first class.
Right.
Fighter.
Yeah. Exactly.
So cool.
First edition.
There's some things you can't get around. It's
However,
it's fighter's a fighter.
Hey, instead of saying fighter, let's call him something else. Especially if you want to distance yourself from something that you think
some kind of legal prosecution.
Let's just do something else.
Yep.
Well, me and him have been developing our own campaign setting, and then after the OGL thing, it's like
we
need to make this more system agnostic as opposed to just
let's reel that
putting
back.
all our eggs into one basket.
That actually reminded me of a thing that I'm kind of working on, mostly in the brains processing part of it. Is not so much an accessory, but a system, a game system.
Okay.
So as you guys have figured out, I'm a huge fan of League of Legends. So I've been wanting to make a role-playing game system based off of League of Legends and the champions in there. And obviously that doesn't really get around the whole doing something that's based off of something else kind of thing. It's something I've been throwing around. It's how
can
they
have a board game.
Do they really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that till yesterday or 2 days ago with Chase, because he's the one that mentioned it.
Oh, really?
Chase talked
He
about
goes,
that,
did you know they have a board game?
How old is it?
I don't know. I never heard about it till 48 hours ago.
I didn't know that. But I've been wanting to do a campaign based off of League of Legends characters forever, and it's how could I do this? But yeah, I also would I really love the idea of having actual play podcast for.
We've been wanting to do the same thing, but we've also looked at the logistics of cameras and editing. It requires
that's our next roadblock.
And I know for me, I would just want it to be audio based, for my own stuff, because I don't have the time or energy to
run
do
out of
the
my
whole
house.
camera
Do
stuff.
I want to literally
Right.
put the accessories of cameras up onto my ceiling.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And
then you got to worry about lighting rigs and all of that stuff.
The breaker.
Popping breakers, yeah.
I have a house that was built in the early 40s, and it has a box in it that was made in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
That was one of the yellow flags when we bought the house. Like, you need to change out the box.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to do that yet.
I have one string of power that goes out to my garage, which has my air compressor, my chop saw, like kind of my dusty, messy tools and stuff like that.
Okay.
And if my air compressor's on and I go to run my circular saw, it'll pop the breaker, and it's like, son of a. So, yep, I know about popping breakers.
And that's kind of the sad thing is that because just a couple months ago, my wife and I bought a house, and it's kind of like that, only more first world problem.
Right.
So I'm sitting there on my couch and I'm playing a video game. I got my TV going, my PlayStation going,
and the internet's
overhead
slow.
light. I'll be playing, all of a sudden that will pop the breaker.
Really? Wow.
And I'm kind of going, what is going on? And I in an hour of just playing, and I'm not even online. It's a one-player game offline. I'll keep popping breakers, and it's like, why is this drawing so much power?
Yeah.
And so I'll have to turn my overhead lights off to play a game. I mean,
as if playing in the dark is a weird thing.
I know.
It'd only be worse if you're playing a horror game. It would add to that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm a baby.
Yeah, you will caught me dead playing a horror game.
If I'm playing a horror game, I've got like everything on.
Yeah.
I've got like people next to me. Like, nah.
I remember when Bloodborne came out, and I was like, this is a horror game, and I got my friends over it because that came out right at my birthday, and so I was like, I'm getting this for my birthday, and then I had my friends over, and we got pizza, and I was playing Bloodborne, and we were each taking turns because it's Souls type game. You die lots.
5 minutes.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
next.
Yeah, exactly. So it was
kind of the guy that goes out to explore, and you're like, hey, dude, you gotta go die.
You almost turn it into a drinking game.
Exactly. How fast can you die?
One of the scariest moments for me recently, I think I was playing The Enemy Within, and your character's going crazy. I think it was that game where I was walking, and you're going through this old, like, creepy, like, deranged hospital. And you come around the corner, it's all dark and everything. You look down the hallway, there's one light that's like
flickering.
Perfect.
I see.
It's a perfect light. And I'm kind of going, no. There's something going on. As you get closer, you hear like this like metal squeak, and it's an empty wheelchair just comes into the light and stops.
From like the side view?
From the side.
Oh, I hate it.
No, oh man, I just got goosebumps thinking about it. And I was just like, I remember playing the game going, nope, turn the power off, walk away.
I'm done.
My cat did that to Sam the last week because he likes to reach up and run his claws along the molding of the, and he just. And she's like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, that's just Veled with his giant hook from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
In a cat costume.
Yes. In a little cat costume.
Or it's a cat wearing the Scream mask or whatever.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. We just got, we have a problem now.
All right. We got to take that cat to the pound.
Yeah, that cat's gone.
Oh, he's not going anywhere. He's my little buddy.
He's your little buddy?
He can spare anyone as much as he wants.
So he likes you, so he gets to stay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. So how is this con specifically gone for you? Have you made some like more connections or?
Yeah, so I would say that's the biggest takeaway from this con for me. So overall, as a salesperson in business trying to make money or whatnot, this has been probably one of my hardest conventions.
For sales, yeah.
For sales, yeah.
I know we've made, like, we brought our own personal stickers, basically.
Right.
This is our big coming out kind of con.
Right, yeah. You guys are here to make impressions.
Yeah, we're here to get our name out there.
Yeah,
exactly.
Totally different.
We went to Midwest Fest to run games and kind of dip our toe in the water. This was us getting in the pool.
Right.
Yeah, and we made stickers and we made
you
one
had
sale.
a booth. Yeah.
We've made a banner.
We've made like
okay, so a lot of this is new setup for you.
Very
cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
And
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What you were doing initially when you said you made trades for stuff. That's what we've been
we were doing
just
sticker trades.
Yeah.
All that. Okay, that's cool, you know.
I have stickers all over my cash box.
There you go. Yep.
So in general, in terms of sales, like this has been a pretty low sales weekend for me. But what I decided to do is rather than just sitting around doing nothing, I actually did bring my computer. So I've had a lot of custom design work that I've had people approach me with.
Okay.
So I was able to sit down, work on a lot of that stuff.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I'm not just sitting idle. But then also like I would get done with some of those things, or I would run out of battery on my computer.
Oh.
And so what I decided to do is like, okay, I needed to I need to do some I need to learn more about Pathfinder.
Yeah.
I need to learn more about some of these other games so I can find stuff that I could make for them. I spent a lot of time Saturday evening, afternoon, evening, playing some Pathfinder 2nd Edition quest and big story, whatever things that ran from like 7 to 11 o'clock last night, which was a lot of fun. So I learned a lot more about Pathfinder 2. And
I always want to get into Starfinder because I have the player's handbook because I thought it looked really interesting. I've just never had a chance to get in, and they invited me over, and I'm like, hey, that's all good enough, but I've got my own thing going on.
Right,
I got people counting on me to help them out here.
Yeah.
So.
That was the downside. I think if we would have had Kilk or Chase here today, we would have been able to mingle with the gaming a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it was like you and me kind of shifting off.
Yeah, and where we have to go eat, we have to go familial obligations and stuff. And that's what happened to Chase is he had, work obligations and stuff. So it would have been cool to have him here, but, totally understand.
You might have saw the post in the spring. He'd lost his house from that big, bad 100-mile-per-hour storm.
Flood?
Yeah, he had a...
no, a giant, about 140-year-old oak fell on his house and destroyed the back end of it.
That's right. You said that on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was
sucks. Thing was like on Saturday by 2 o'clock or something like that, I had done a total of 3 sales. Yeah, so I was like, I'm not going to sit here anymore.
Yeah,
this went from a sales weekend to a professional development weekend.
Time to adapt and
exactly.
Improvise,
it's like how can I
overcome.
salvage it some way?
I like it.
So that way, like I'm either getting something done on my computer that I need to work on when I get home. I know a lot of people can like sit here and crochet plushies, sitting here, spending time. So they can be making their stuff while they're at a show. I cannot.
You can't wheel in half of a
exactly.
a wood shop here.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, okay, what can I do? I can work on my computer, or I can go learn and develop. Like, what are some other gaming accessories I could possibly make?
Oh, there you go.
So
like an ideation type
exactly.
thing. Yeah, okay.
Trying to learn Pathfinder a little bit better to adapt it because again, like I said, I want to make a GM screen for Pathfinder. So getting to know that game a little bit better, seeing what other popular games could utilize some kind of accessory,
that's
Wingspan,
what I was talking about.
Gloomhaven, stuff
like
that.
Imagine like an old 20s looking wood DM screen or keeper screen.
Oh yeah, keeper screen. Yeah.
For Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Ooh, that just the ambience right there.
Yeah,
just,
absolutely.
I take notes.
And you're like, Call of Cthulhu.
Go ahead.
Run with it. Yeah.
An idea to share, not
right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I ain't gonna use it.
Well, thanks. And I've had a lot of really good shows lately, so they can't all be winners. And this is nothing against Nukecon. I actually like the people here have been super awesome.
Oh yeah,
the vendors have been awesome.
I have to say the thing about Nukecon, and I've learned that from a couple other cons, is their volunteers are almost coming over every hour and a half hour.
Right.
Is everything going good for you? Do you need us to watch your booth while you're going to the bathroom?
I've had conversations with them about the podcast and everything, and a couple of them have filled out idea, the raffle, and so the staff is definitely more personable.
Yes, I agree. And that was the thing that vending coordinator, she came and she's like, sell a lot of things this weekend. I'm like, no, not really. It's been kind of a rough weekend. She's like, oh, really? And she's like, can I come sit down? And I was like, yeah. She's like, what can we do to make this better? Or what would this make this better? So she was super awesome. And shout out to
Nora Jane.
Yeah, shout out to Nora Jane. So she's super nice.
That's what I told her. Initially get into contact with you guys because it was a little tricky because I had to go through Facebook. It was a little tricky.
Yeah.
But and I didn't know it was her. I'm like, but once I talked to Nora Jane, it was like ice skating through this process.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
she's like, well, thank you. And then she pulled out her badge and showed me. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Good thing I didn't talk crap about you.
Yeah, good thing I had good things to say.
Yeah, right. No, but she was super awesome. She's like, well, how could we improve in the future? I was like, I'm not sure because ironically enough, gaming conventions are probably my worst genre of conventions I go to.
Which is weird because
I sell gaming stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think what it boils down to is the people that come here are here to play games. And so they're mostly preoccupied. And the things that I sell, they probably already have stuff similar to that, or they know whether or not that's not for them. Also, I don't think it's that they're not spending money. I think it's usually more of they're spending money on the game that they just played, or a game that they want to play, or books to play those games, stuff like that.
Or, like you mentioned earlier, it might not be in their budget.
Right, exactly. But
it's they're really wanting that.
Right, yeah.
This con has such roots in the Omaha area that's the best way. It's like this is a growing con as opposed to like a sales con.
Yeah, it's not like it's like Gen Con or Adepticon or PAX. Or
I know
whatever.
a couple of the vendors saying it's like, yeah, we didn't make much sales this weekend, but we networked a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, just networking, getting to meet people. I have met so many fantastic people here.
Yeah.
It's great.
We've gotten invited to 2 or 3 cons to check out their con.
Oh,
nice.
really?
Yeah.
Good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that bodes well for you guys in the future. Location.
I think with that, we'll call it an afternoon.
Yeah, cool. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for sitting down and talking with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, happy to be here.
We'll have you shamelessly plug yourself. You're on Instagram and...
Yep, you can find me at Oakley'snerdnook on Instagram. All one word, no hyphens or dashes or anything like that. And then I also have my website where you can buy things, place orders, stuff like that. It's Oakleysnerdnook.com. Everything that I have is Oakley's Nerd Nook. So you can Google search it. It'll have my website, my Instagram there. And I do have a Discord server that I have a link to in my link tree, which is on my Instagram page too, so you can find that. We talk about D&D things. If people have D&D questions or role-playing questions, magic questions, stuff like that, or just get together, or like finding other people to play like one-shots with and stuff like that. So if that's something you're interested in, it's for all levels of ability, whether you're brand new, never played, like please feel free to join. That's kind of the idea, is I want to help people get into it.
More approachable.
Exactly.
Because that's how this hobby and everything survives.
Right, yeah, and grows,
exactly.
and experienced players are welcome too, because we need experienced people for
stewards.
those new people to refer to. So yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Hey, tabletop gamers. Thank you for watching this episode of the Hermit's Homebrew. We come out with new episodes every Wednesday. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends as we continue to level up and grow.